Today in Chicago, it is a crisp and clear morning in the fall season. The city is filled with a low hum of calm resolve on mornings like this one. The sun rises over Lake Michigan, and its golden reflection is reflected on the glass buildings. Children make their way to school, commuters clutch coffee in paper cups, and the L train rattles across its tracks. It is as if this Wednesday is nothing more than any other typical day of the week. However, in people's homes and in pharmacies, death has already been planted. This is done in the plain white bottles that offer nothing more than relief, invisible, without flavor, and pitiless. No one has any idea that it is happening. Mary Kellerman, who is 12 years old, wakes up on the morning of September 29, 1982, in Elk Grove Village with a sore throat and a runny nose. Her parents place their faith in the Tylenol brand, as millions of families do, and hand her a capsule of extra-strength Tylenol. Just a few minutes later, Mary falls to the ground on the floor of the bathroom. She had already passed away by the time she arrived at the hospital. Medical professionals are shocked by this development. It is not merely the case that children who are in good health will die from colds. The only things that are left for her parents to experience are pain and questions. Adam Janus, a postal worker who is 27 years old, takes Tylenol for mild chest pain in Arlington Heights on the very same morning. He also collapses and passes away without any prior notice. His family members come together in a state of astonishment at his residence. Later on the same day, his brother Stanley and his sister-in-law Teresa each take a dose of Tylenol from the same bottle, still feeling the pain of their loss. They too pass away within a matter of hours. Within the span of 2 days, a single family had to purchase 3 coffins. The following day, further victims are discovered throughout the Chicago metropolitan region. Panic begins to spread. The connection between the two of them becomes terrifyingly obvious. Tylenol. The capsules that they ingested had been tainted with potassium cyanide, a toxin that interferes with the body's capacity to utilize oxygen. Death occurs within a matter of minutes. Within each capsule was an amount that was sufficient to cause the deaths of thousands of people. The victims did not have any hope of surviving. The news about the mysterious toxin spreads throughout the nation. Families clear out their medication cabinets. As police officers and federal agents evacuate supermarkets, pharmacies remove Tylenol off their shelves. The evening news broadcasts an unending stream of footage of bottles being confiscated and store shelves being stripped of their contents. The feeling of dread permeates everyday activities. For the first time in history, the people of the United States are compelled to face the frightening idea that a household drug that they have come to rely on could potentially be transformed into something that is capable of doing harm. The investigation that will be conducted after this will be of significant proportions. There are hundreds of cops that work at all hours of the day and night. The Chicago area is inundated by law enforcement officials from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Food and Drug Administration, and the local police department. Pharmacies are being examined, warehouses are being locked, and laboratories are testing thousands of bottles. It becomes apparent that the toxin was not introduced at any point during the production process. Instead, someone had entered stores, opened bottles, replaced the capsules inside with ones that were packed with cyanide, and then surreptitiously put them back on the shelves. The straightforwardness of the crime is terrifying. It involves the conversion of typical bottles into silent traps, which are then placed casually amid thousands of others. Johnson & Johnson, the company that manufactures Tylenol, is currently dealing with a problem that threatens its very existence. Though millions of homes have faith in the brand, it is currently at the core of a terrorist plot. The corporation takes a daring step and recalls all Tylenol capsules throughout the country, a total of 31 million bottles. The financial loss is tremendous, at over $100 million. Yet the decision restores some of the public's faith in the government. The corporation is introducing packaging that the world has never seen before in order to regain trust. These packages have tamper-evident seals, foil barriers, plastic wraps, and boxes that have been created to make any interference noticeable. This horror was the beginning of what is now considered a normal occurrence, and Johnson & Johnson's reaction is now considered a textbook example of how to handle a crisis in the business world. Nevertheless, the question of who perpetrated the atrocity remains unanswered. James William Lewis, A person with a number of personal issues sends a letter to Johnson & Johnson in which he demands the company pay him $1 million in exchange for his promise to halt the murders. This letter makes him an immediate suspect in the case. After being apprehended and found guilty of extortion, he is sentenced to a prison term of more than 10 years. However, was he the one who poisoned them? The investigators are unable to provide evidence that it is true. There is no direct proof linking him to the bottles themselves because there are no fingerprints or witnesses. He continues to be considered a suspect, but he is one who is shrouded in ambiguity. He is like a shadow that never becomes solid. There are a number of other possibilities that are now being discussed. It is possible that a firm employee who was dissatisfied was the one who did it. It is possible that a stranger who had the intention of causing disruption was responsible. It is the opinion of some that there may have been more than one perpetrator, that the first murders served as inspiration for copycats who went on to tamper with further bottles, which only served to escalate the sense of terror. The proof is never substantial enough, and the leads are never promising enough. The case is reopened again and again, new forensic tools are used, and DNA evidence is re-examined time after again. However, 40 years after the murders took place, no one has been accused of committing them. Despite the fact that the Tylenol deaths have not been resolved, they have left an indelible effect on history. They compelled Americans to think about the vulnerability of the confidence that they place in the things that occupy their homes, transformed federal law, and changed the way that medication and consumer goods are packaged. In addition, they brought about a transformation in the culture itself. It has been standard practice for consumers to examine every seal and package, whereas shoppers used to unscrew a cap without giving it a second thought. Fear became a normal part of everyday life. Caution became second nature. Despite this, the story never reached a complete conclusion. If Mary Kellerman were still alive, she would be in her 50s today. Adam, Stanley, and Teresa Jonas may have established families and raised children of their own. Malice that was intentional, rather than mere chance, was the cause of their lives being taken from them. Do you think that it was James Lewis, an individual who is unknown and does not show their face? Or perhaps someone who has never been punished, integrating back into daily life while the rest of the world has moved on? The silence that followed the Tylenol killings is perhaps the most unsettling legacy they left behind. The deaths themselves are not the most terrifying aspect of this legacy. Rather, it is the lack of explanations and the unsettling prospect that the murderer was never apprehended. The Tylenol killings remain to this day one of the most significant unsolved crimes in the history of the United States of America. A breach in the relationship between people and the faith they have in the objects they use on a daily basis. A moment when the illusion of safety was shattered and the people of the nation came to the realization that even the medicines that are intended to heal can be transformed into weapons. That rupture never truly heals until the mystery is addressed, and it will continue to be a source of pain until then. Is there any chance that this lawsuit will ever be resolved? Alternatively, will it continue to be one of the most perplexing and enigmatic questions of our time? If this story has caused you to feel as disturbed as it did millions of people back then, please leave a subscription and share your thoughts in the comments section. Which idea do you find most convincing? Was it James William Lewis or someone else who was never discovered?